Thanks so much for joining today's Redington virtual session. The topic for today's session is portability of data. The topic will be presented by Mr. Sunny Ghai. During the session, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A tab on the left, and they'll be answered at the end of the session. Sunny, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. As mentioned by Chanakya, I take care of Veeam portfolio in Redington Girl, and today we are talking about the data management, the portability of data, which includes cloud data management, as well as how we can, we can transport data from on-premise to cloud or from cloud to on-premise, what all protections Veeam can give you related to that perspective. We will talk about it. So if we talk about today, data data is the most important thing for an organization, and the data is the entire business on which organization relies on. So if you talk about the generators of the data, the primary, the main perspective from where the data is being generated is cloud. Then you are also generating data from mobile, edge IoT, AI, ML, means all those platforms which are related with your organizations are generating huge amount of data, right? And that data becomes so much that for an organizations to keep track of their data, to safeguard their data, is the most challenging challenge they are facing as of today. So to safeguard those data using Veeam, how can it be done? So if you see in today's world, the data which are being generated by all those organizations, right, it is becoming a threat for an organization to safeguard their data. If you see, every year almost, uh, the business continuity disruption is being almost $20 million per year, which is being estimated by IT gurus. And it becomes very complex when it comes to the management of the data. For example, if you talk about a data center, in your data center you have different applications which are generating data almost every second. And to manage that data properly, to safeguard that data properly, it becomes a very complex, situation for an IT admin. For example, if in a data center you are having a hybrid cloud environment wherein some workloads are running on cloud, some workloads are running on premise, some workloads are running on Linux environment, some are running on database environment. So for an IT administrator perspective, for them it's very difficult to manage the entire workload, manage the entire data, and keep it in a safe environment for all those different applications. So it becomes very complex. Now the other part is the compliance part, right? Compliance is again a very nice and quick feature of an organization wherein everybody has to be compliant, right? For example, for an organization, they need to keep their data for certain number of years, and that data also should be in a compliance manner, right? If you talk about today, GDPR is one of the biggest challenge for an organization, wherein they need to keep the data but in safeguard manner, and it should be GDPR compliant. So that compliance becomes, a most important part for each and every organization, because if you talk about data, if the data is being generated, that data will remain there forever until and unless somebody touches that data. Now, other than that, the most important part is the security. How secure you can keep your data in a place, right? Whether it's a production data, whether it's a backed up data, security becomes one of the prime most factor of an organization to safeguard their data. So in today's webinar, we'll talk about how we can cover all those four factors using Veeam in an hybrid environment, which can cover your data center, whether it's an on-premise data center, a cloud data center, or an hybrid data center. So if you talk about till today, what does your legacy backup does, right? In legacy backups, what you do, if you have like certain applications, right? For each application, we used to either install an agent on that application and take and backup on somewhere on to the backup destination. And for each application, for each workload, we have different types of agents, or we have different types of management consoles for that. So what kind of disadvantages for an IT administrator they face? First of all, it's very limited, right? When you are installing some workload, some agent onto an application, the management becomes very limited. You get very limited options for the restoration part, right? Second thing, again, it's very complex. You need to manage different consoles using different workloads. Third, it's not so flexible. It's the technology is very monotonous. Once it is installed, you need to rely on the technology which has been installed. The R&Ds related with that technology is very minimal. Nowadays, everything is portable. You need your work done to be in seconds. So you want your data to be recovered in seconds. You want your applications to run as soon as possible. Organizations in today's world, they cannot afford even a single second of downtime. They want their data centers to be 24 by 7 operational, right? So these type of options, these type of the limitations which legacy backups are generally giving it to an business environment. And last but not the least, the solution becomes very expensive also, right? If you are buying a backup solution, or let's say data protection solution for each workload, it becomes very expensive. So for an business, for an organization, that solution does not fulfill their need. So how we can do this, how we can simplify this, how Veeam can help you managing all your workload from one single platform, which includes all the parameters of the data centers, which nowadays every organization, or I would say most of the organizations, are using it. So let's start what Veeam wanted to do, or what Veeam vision is. So if I talk about Veeam, just to give you a brief overview, Veeam, previously when Veeam came into the market in 2006, they were only doing virtualization backup. And if I talk about today, I guess everybody, whenever virtualization comes, whenever you name a virtualization backup, always the first name for a backup comes as the Veeam, because Veeam with virtualization works very well, right? Everybody is aware of it. It's proven. The technical demos are there. Means what for virtualization, Veeam is always the number one. But what is next for Veeam now? Right? They are already there in the virtualization platform, doing very nicely. They are also coming in with physical infrastructure, doing very nicely. Now, what is next? Now, today's, if I talk about what is Veeam vision is, Veeam clearly wanted to become an cloud data management company. Means Veeam wanted to back up, means it should be an end-to-end solution wherein you can back up your on-premise data center as well as your cloud data center. Because everybody today is talking about cloud. And if you talk about the challenges in today's world, right? You have on-premise data center and you want to put partial workload onto a cloud, but you don't know how to do it. You don't know how to migrate your workload onto a cloud. You don't know what would be the bandwidth needed. You don't know how the connections would suffice that need. So what Veeam does, Veeam had done lots of R&D onto the cloud platform, and they have built a technology, they have built a same software which helps you. to manage, monitor, and configure your data from one single centralized console, right? So the main vision of Veeam is to become a number one cloud data management provider, right? So how we can do this? Let's talk about it. So in today's world, if you talk about this entire slide, which clearly says that what Veeam can do, if you see on the left top hand side, let me just put my pointer. If on the left top hand side where my pointer is, you can see there is a product called backup and recovery. The guys who are aware of Veeam backup and replication portfolio, this is the main product which does backup and replication of your environment, which includes physical infrastructure, virtual infrastructure, as well as cloud infrastructure. So this would be the main console wherein you are configuring all your backup policies. And if you come onto the right hand side, the cloud mobility, which is our topic today, the cloud mobility is what Veeam does, right? I'll talk about this in detail in my coming slides, what exactly it is. And if you come onto the center, you see your data is there. Your data can be sitting anywhere, whether it is sitting in a private cloud, whether it is sitting in a public cloud, whether it is sitting in an on-premise data center, whether it is sitting anywhere. Veeam can take a backup of your data, and it can give you a portable view, a centralized view of your data, so that you can migrate, you can restore, or you can see, or you can leverage your data at any point of time, right? Other than that, the other parts at the bottom of my slide, which says governance and compliance, Veeam also gives you a view of your data so that your organization is compliant, wherein the GDPR, GDPR restrictions or GDPR is in effect. There you have certain scripts with the help of which you can see your data, you can remove the data which you want from the backup data, and also you can see a couple of other things along with it. Then at the center you can see the orchestration and automation. Orchestration and automation is a separate product provided by Veeam, which does automation of your DR, uh, documentation of your DR, and this product is being used wherein you need to make sure the business continuity is 24 by 7. And last but not the least, monitoring and analytics. This is a product which is being used by Veeam to monitor your virtual infrastructure as well as backup infrastructure. This has almost 200 inbuilt reports which can be utilized for forecasting purposes, capacity management purposes, etc., etc. So this product is also a very nice product when it comes to monitoring. It gives you a dashboards, etc., etc. So if I talk about Veeam Vision, this is in today's world, the Veeam Vision is to manage your data from one centralized console. Regardless your data sits in cloud, the data sits in on-premise, or data sits in private cloud, right? So what kind of needs does Veeam suffice? So for example, the first and prime most objective for an organizations to keep their data available. The data availability is the most prime aim for an organization. So we as a Veeam, we always make sure that the data is available. How we do it? We follow three parameters. In Veeam, we always say we are very simple, flexible, and reliable backup. Where it when it comes to any data center backup, data availability is the most primemost factor, and simplicity, flexibility, and reliability Veeams suffice it very well. Then the second part is, for an organization, is the agility of the data, right? How you can utilize your data, how you can leverage your data. With Veeam, we gives you we leverage your backup data, and we gives you the access of your data so that you can utilize it for some other purposes. For example, you can utilize your backup data to create your own sandbox environment, virtual lab. You can utilize your data to create uh, for testing purposes, for development purposes. You don't need to again create a new infrastructure for it. You can utilize your backed up data. So agility is one of the main factor which Veeam suffice it very well. Now the last but not the least, business acceleration, right? We gives you a complete GUI view, a dashboard view, a reporting view of your infrastructure, that what is happening inside your infrastructure. For example, if you have a environment wherein you are running thousands of VMs and you are not aware of how your VMs are behaving, then Veeam 1 is the product which can give you a complete visibility of your environment. It will tell you how your VMs are behaving, and it will also help you forecasting your environment, so that you are aware that after 1 year down the line, how do you want to architect your environment, how much space you need, how much compute you need. All those things can be seen in a dashboard view, can be seen in a report view, etc., etc. So acceleration of business, we make sure that you as an organization are one step ahead when it comes to your IT organization. We make sure that the data which you have is 100% utilized in a proper manner. We make sure that the data, the business continuity remains available 24 by 7. Right. So this is what Veeam as a company addresses when it comes to customer data. If you talk about the reliability, why Veeam is a leader in cloud data management, we are following three parameters which say simple, flexible, reliable. What does it mean, simple? Right? Simple is a very simple word, I would say. If I talk about Veeam as a software, Veeam backup replication, it hardly takes 12 to 15 clicks. That's it. Next, next, next. Hardly takes 10 to 15 minutes for the installation. It's very user friendly. It's all GUI driven, and it also gives you a flexibility to install Veeam backup and replication software uh, in one server, starting from one server till many servers. Means the architecture is very flexible, it's very simple, and it has a very solid reputation for your backup and replication environment, right? Now, flexibility. I can install a Veeam in one software, in one VM, and I can install Veeam in multiple VMs. We are purely a software based company. We don't recommend, or we don't need any specific hardware on which we needs to be installed. I can be installed, you can install Veeam on any Windows platform. We don't care that we need certain specific hardware. It's very portable. We don't lock in any of our Veeam backup and replication file, that this file supposed to be restored on a certain platform. It's purely portable. Means if you have taken a backup using Veeam, the data can be restored in any platform, which I'm going to talk about in my coming slides. The portability, which is the main objective, right? Customer can choose anything, customer can choose any hardware, any storage, and then they can implement it, right? For us, we don't care. I can be installed on Windows 8, Windows 10 environment also, depends on the features which you need. And this product is 100% cloud ready, right? We also have cloud native products which can do a backup of cloud native applications using the native technology of cloud, as well as we can also integrate the cloud using the backup using instances without any other tax or without any additional cost coming from Veeam site. or coming from cloud side. I'll talk about this cloud ready in my coming slides because this is a very important point which has been mentioned here. So we are very flexible. We are purely a software defined company. When it comes to reliability, Veeam has a reputation in the market when it comes to restoration, right? Restoration is the main part of any backup software. You can back up anything, but what about the restoration, right? With our portable data format, we will be able to restore the data as soon as possible using certain technologies. Depends on your requirement. Veeam does instant VM recovery, which says instantly recover your VMs in seconds. Veeam does complete restoration onto a cloud platform using restoration features of Veeam, which we'll talk about it today. So when it comes to restoration is the most important part, and with Veeam I can restore any data anywhere, right? So when I say any data anywhere, it means I can restore either onto an on-premise data center, onto any of the hypervisor, or I can restore it onto a public cloud platform as a VM, either in Microsoft Azure or in AWS as an EC2 instance. So these are the important factors which we are going to talk about today. So if you talk about the NPS score, Veeam is very good at it. So 75 is the NPS score which has been given to Veeam. 91% satisfies customer Veeam. 91% guys recommend Veeam. Means all 90%. When it comes to Veeam, we just simply say that it just works, right? So now let's talk about the availability platform which Veeam carries. What all workloads we can do a backup. So for us and for you, it's a single platform. If you see on the left hand side, we backup virtual infrastructure. So when it comes to virtual infrastructure, Veeam is always there. Since ages, Veeam is doing it. We are an agentless backup solution for an virtual infrastructure. We integrate with the APIs of the virtual infrastructure and take an image based backup onto a disk. Now the second part is your physical infrastructure. We also do physical infrastructure backup using instances, which is called agents. We support Windows platform, we support Linux platform. We also do backup of Oracle databases, SAP HANA, Oracle Solaris, etc., etc. Then on the right hand side, if you see, we also do cloud backups, right? So in cloud is the main objective of today's webinar. We do a backup of cloud using instances. We do a backup of cloud using cloud native technology. For cloud native technology, we have different backup solutions for Microsoft Azure as well as for AWS, which does a native backup of cloud onto the cloud. That can be integrated with your on-premise VBR solution if you want. There are multiple use cases, multiple scenarios which you can think of and integrate your backup from cloud to on-premise or to on-premise to cloud. So we will talk about it, the cloud part. The and last but not the least, software as a service. We also support Veeam backup and replication. We also support software as a service called Veeam backup for Office 365. It's a separate product. It does not integrate with anything, and this product also gives you flexibility to back up your entire Office 365 infrastructure either on premise or onto a cloud, right? So if we see, I have already talked about this uh, in detail. When it comes to cloud, right? Cloud, we support Microsoft Azure, we support AWS, IBM Cloud, Google Cloud, or any other third party cloud. So let's talk about a cloud in detail a bit. So when it comes to Veeam Cloud Data Management Platform, right? Our first main objective is using Veeam backup and replication, recover anything, anywhere, at any time. This is the main objective. Means if you are using Veeam as a backup software, your data can be recovered anywhere, in any form, at any platform. Means if you are running a virtual environment, you want to restore it onto a cloud, either AWS or Azure, we can do it. If you are running onto a cloud, whether Azure or AWS, and if you want to restore on premise onto a virtual infrastructure, yes, we can do it. There are so many organizations who are using Veeam as a migration tool as well. We do application consistent backup of your entire VM, whether it is running on cloud or on premise. And there are so many organizations who are using this as a migration tool, either from on premise to cloud or from cloud to on premise. Both ways it's possible, right? Then the second part is the cloud mobility. As I said, it's a portable format. I can do it anywhere. I can do it either on AWS, I can do it on Azure. Then it has inbuilt monitoring and analytics. Using Veeam one, we can utilize our Veeam one built-in intelligence to forecast your infrastructure. How is it behaving? Orchestration and automation is being done using Veeam availability orchestrator. And governance and compliance, we have already talked about it. It's for GDPR, right? So now let's talk about what exactly it does. So Veeam one is the product which does monitoring and analytics. Veeam availability orchestrator is the product which does orchestration, automation of your DR, documentation of your DR. Veeam backup for Office 365 is a separate product which is being used to back up your Office 365 environment. Veeam backup and replication is the main product which does backup and replication of your three workloads: virtual, physical, and cloud. And if you combine Veeam backup plus replication plus Veeam one, we call this as an availability suite, a complete suite which gives you 24 by 7 protection, which gives you visibility, which gives you availability of your data, right? So what is portability now? Okay, what is portability? Any app, any data, any cloud. If on the left hand side you are using Veeam availability suite as a data protection software, you can monitor your virtual cloud, you can monitor your cloud, and using monitoring and reporting using agent based backup softwares, you can portable your data either from cloud to on premise or from on premise to cloud, right? So let's talk about this in detail. How do we maintain availability? How do we maintain that your data is available? We have something called instant VM recovery. Instant VM recovery is a process with the help of which we are booting a VM onto an hypervisor instantly from your backup repository, right? This happens instantaneously. Then your Veeam explorers, when it comes to restoration, we gives you a GUI view using Veeam explorers to see your data. Whatever object you want to recover from that explorer, you can recover it using your GUI view, which is called Veeam Explorer. We have lots of explorers for different workloads, which comes along with the software free of cost. So for example, we have an explorer for Active Directory, we have an explorer for SQL, we have explorer for Oracle, etc., etc. Means for each workload we have most of the explorers available. Then we have instant file level recovery. We can recover a file using IFLR instantly. So for example, if some of the file of your operating system has been corrupted and you know that this is the file, that also can be recovered instantaneously. And we can also restore your data directly to Azure or AWS. That is like instantaneously. You just right click on your backup file into VVR console and you can see all the consoles, all the parameters there, how to configure, how to restore the data onto an Azure or AWS. For that, you don't have to create any site-to-site VPN, right? So what exactly Veeam backup and replication is? So when Veeam backup and replication comes, right, we have already talked about that Veeam backup and replication is an agentless backup solution for a virtual environment. So when it does an image based backup using snapshot technology of your environment, how you can restore it in a faster way, right? With Veeam, you get these are the couple of restoration options. First one is the full VM restore, which is a complete restoration of a VM, which gives you complete visibility of, let's say, in case your entire VM is down or VM is crashed, you can restore the entire full VM instantaneously. Instant VM recovery in minutes, as I mentioned. Guest file recovery, if you want to recover a single file from a folder, that can be done. Application items can be recovered. When it comes to application item, for example, you talk about Active Directory. In Active Directory, if you want to recover a single attribute of an object, that also can be recovered. If you want to recover a single table of SQL DB, that also can be recovered. If you want to recover a database of, let's say, Oracle, that also can be recovered, and you can obviously restore it to cloud at any point of time. Now let's talk about the portability. What is portability? So when we are talking about a portability, when Veeam does a backup of your environment, you use any format of Veeam, right? If you are using Veeam backup and replication, when Veeam does a backup onto a centralized Veeam repository, Veeam uh, Veeam saves that backup file in its own format, which is called .vbk. This .vbk is a Veeam backup file, which Veeam saves it in its backup repository. This file has all the information of your backup data. This is a full backup file. Means when you first time you schedule a backup and Veeam takes a backup, this is the file which has been created inside your backup repository. And when then the next incremental comes in, then .vib, the incremental file. So if you have those two files with you, it means you have the entire data with you of your data center. And when it comes to restoration with those .vbk files, right, this .vbk file is being generated when you are taking a virtual infrastructure backup, when you are taking an physical infrastructure backup, or when you are taking an cloud infrastructure backup. So this file remains same for each workload, and this file can be restored on VMware vSphere, can be restored on Hyper-V, and can be restored as a bare metal recovery. So this format is a portable format which can be restored anywhere. But how do we do this, right? For example, you have taken a backup of your infrastructure and your backup keeps residing it, let's say, for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, depends on your retention policies. How do we do it? Okay, now there are lots of softwares in the market which will allow you to do a backup, but when it comes to restoration, they ask you to put a license file. But with Veeam, this is not the case. What we say that you can back up your workload using Veeam, but when it comes to restoration, we don't lock anybody. We always do your restoration free of cost. Means, for example, you don't have licenses with you for Veeam, but you have Veeam backup files available with you. Let's say after 5 years you want to restore certain data, you can directly download Veeam from Veeam website. Don't need to buy Veeam. You can simply restore your data from that software without having the licenses. With Veeam Community Edition also you can restore your data. Veeam does not lock you with the restoration. Restoration at any point of time for you is free, right? Veeam Community Edition, which is a free edition for everybody, it gives you uh, uh, lots of restoration features. With Veeam Community Edition, you can do instant VM recovery, direct restore to AWS Azure, secure restore, and file and application item level recovery. This is free of cost if you have backup available with you. Yeah. Now, restoring data and virtual machines. If you talk about the challenges, right, in today's world, the challenges are uh, how you can migrate your data onto a public cloud, AWS, Azure. This is the first challenge. How you can protect your data across clouds. Putting a data for longer term onto a cloud becomes a very expensive solution. And when it comes to recovery, right, recovery is again a challenging solution, a challenge for an organization. But when it comes to Veeam, how we are addressing your challenges. So first, when it comes to portability of your data, we gives you a portable file which is .vbk or .vib, which can be restored anywhere, right? It's a portable backup file. Either it can be restored on premise or onto cloud itself. When it comes to protection of your workload, we gives you a centralized view of Veeam backup replication, which gives you a policy based backup, with the help of which you can manage your virtual workload from the same console, you can manage your physical workload from the same console, and also you can manage your cloud workload from the same console, and you can keep the entire backup in one centralized location, right? So you have visibility of your data. And when it comes to longer term retention, this is the most important part. You cannot keep your data onto a cloud. For that, you need some cheaper storages. So we integrate with the cheaper storages which are available in the cloud, in the form of Azure Blob, which is provided by Microsoft, AWS S3 bucket, which is provided by AWS, IBM Cloud S3 Object Budget, bucket, etc., etc., which can be directly integrated with Veeam backup repository as a solution, and you can utilize those, right? For that, you don't need to create any site-to-site VPN. And when it comes to recovery also we gives you a very nice option, right? For example, if you have on premise infrastructure and you want to recover it onto a cloud, we can create something called cold DR, wherein you can directly restore onto a cloud using Veeam functionality, restore to Azure or restore to AWS. So we boot up a VM using Veeam's inbuilt functionality. So everything happens with your portable data format, which is being stored in a backup repository. So data portability for hybrid cloud environment, Veeam gives it very well. So now when it comes to cloud mobility, again, we don't lock you in with some specific vendor. Veeam is a cloud native backup product which can take a backup of your environment. Continuity, we make sure that the data is available 24/7, and we also automate your data retention in the cloud using Veeam backup retention policies, which is by default you will configure when you configure Veeam backup and replication. So when it comes to product, we for cloud mobility, we recover all your products, we recover all your workloads in cloud in very minimal steps. Uh, uh, Means I can just show you couple of steps, or maybe if you go to Veeam Help Center, you can just type restore to AWS, right? So it will gives you complete steps that how easy it is for you to restore it onto a cloud, right? And when it comes to cloud data protection, we do backup, we do restoration, we do a DR of your cloud native workloads, consolidates backup in a central Veeam backup repository. For you it's an advantage because your entire backed up data is sitting in one centralized location. Then with cloud tier, with the cloud storages, you can expand infinitely, means you don't have any restriction, because when it comes to the cloud storages like Azure Blob or S3s of AWS, they don't limit you with the storage spaces. So scalability for you becomes, there is no challenge, you can keep your data forever. Then we have another product which is basically for service provider called Veeam Cloud Connect, which is being used by managed service providers to provide Veeam services, which includes backup as a service, DR as a service for their end customers. Right. So this product is also very nice product. So in all, when it comes to the cloud mobility, the cloud portability, Veeam gives you lots of features, lots of functionalities with the help of which you can utilize your backup data from on-premise to cloud or vice versa, right? So the workload mobility, if you talk about today, there are almost, I would say 53% of the guys are worried about their hybrid uh, cloud infrastructure approach, that how they will manage their compliance part, how they will manage their backup part when it comes to uh, mobility. Because for an organization, as I mentioned in the beginning, that uh, data becomes a challenge for an organization. So with Veeam, we gives you portability of any backup on AWS or Azure. It's a very easy step which can be utilized, recover workloads for your business continuity, and you can utilize your backup data for some other purposes, right? So mobility becomes a major factor here. How do we do it? As I mentioned, this is your .vpk file, which is your backup file. You can directly, once you click on your backup file, you see there are two options for restoration: either restore it to AWS or restore it to Azure. And you can, for restoration, we don't need any license. You can do it using community edition. And if you want to do it onto bare metal recovery on premise using agents, you can do it, right? So it's very easy. Means you don't have to be like 100% champion of a cloud product. Veeam does it everything at their own pace. You don't need to create site to site VPN, etc, etc. Now, if you talk about direct restore to AWS and Azure, so for example, this on the left hand side is your main office, wherein it is being you have one ESXi, you have virtualized platform, your users are connected with it, your end customers are also, your end users are also connected with it. This is your backup proxy. You are doing a backup onto a Veeam backup repository, which is a centralized backup repository. Right now, for example, you want to restore certain workloads onto an AWS or on Azure. What you need to do, you just need to click on direct restore to Microsoft Azure or AWS. That's it. Click on next, next, next. There are certain parameters which you need to configure, which says a couple of steps, I guess 6 or 7 steps. Once you are done with those next steps, your machine will be booted as a VM in the cloud platform, and your guys can directly, your end users, your users can directly access that VM, right? So portability here becomes a major factor. So by just clicking on click next, your data has been restored. You are not creating any side to side VPN between cloud and on premise VPR server. So everything has been taken care by Veeam backup replication software. You just need credentials to authenticate your cloud services. Your credentials should have access to compute, should have access to the storage. If you have all those things available with your credentials, Veeam will automatically create a VM and boot up that VM in a cloud platform, whether it is AWS or Azure, right? So backup of cloud VM. How do we do a backup of cloud virtual machines? Using instances. So where to store a backup? If you see the challenges in today's world, as I mentioned, we can store it in a centralized way. If you are running an on-premise infrastructure, we can keep your backup onto that backup repository. Or if you are running a cloud infrastructure, we can do it in cloud itself also. And we, for longer term retention, we can use your cheaper storages, either Azure Blob or AWS S3. Where to can be restored, cloud mobility, you can restore it any point of time, anywhere. What is the original platform? For example, your VMs are running on VMware ESXi, right, on on-premise infrastructure. Now you want to recover it onto you don't have enough resources available on ESXi, and you want to recover it onto Hyper-V platform. That also can be done. right? If you have taken a backup of that virtual machine using Veeam, when it comes to restoration, you see two options: Hyper-V or VMware. You can restore it anywhere on any platform, or you can restore it onto a cloud as well, obviously. So we don't require original platform for the availability. So original platform location not available, no problem, we can simply dr to a different cloud, or with automatic conversion we can restore it to any other hypervisor as well. We don't lock in with you any vendor. We don't charge you for any exit strategy. Restoration with that portable backup format is always free. You can restore it after 5 years, 10 years, you regardless whether you have Veeam with you in your organization or not, you can do it, right? And future platform migration, with our portability you can migrate your data at any point of time. You, for example, you have a plan to use a hybrid cloud or full-fledged cloud, and you don't know how to migrate your services from on-premise to cloud. Take Veeam, take a backup of your virtual environment or physical environment, whatever it is. Use the restore to AWS or Azure feature and restore it directly onto a cloud using Veeam. So your restoration is free. Your migration will happen automatically. Veeam will take care of everything. You don't have to worry for your migration part, right? You don't have to build your infrastructure in cloud from scratch. Veeam will take care of it. So now, when it comes to the backup strategies, we have already discussed that we don't charge you for any exit fees, means you can restore at any point of time. We are multi-cloud agnostic. You can integrate AWS with the same VBR console. You can integrate Azure with the same console. And if you are following multi-cloud strategy, wherein you want to keep your data on different platforms, from compliance perspective or from availability perspective, Veeam works it with very well. It's not like that if you have integrate Azure with your Veeam console, you cannot integrate AWS. You will be in control of your own data. You can see your data in and out. You have the visibility of your entire data because your data is sitting in one centralized repository. You have a centralized view. You can test your data onto a different platform. Testing means using Share Backup, Share Replica. We gives you a visibility of your data. With Share Backup, we do 3 tests, which is your hard-based test, application test, and your ping test, with the help of which we make sure that the data which you are backing up is 100% recoverable. For you, it's a one backup strategy. Everything has been configured onto one centralized platform using Veeam backup and replication. So you can see your backup jobs are running from one centralized console. And when it comes to cost, it's very cost effective. Everything has been done using one Veeam backup replication console. uh, it Everything has been inbuilt in the Veeam. So all those factors are being included when Veeam backup replication takes a backup. If you are inside the cloud, we give you a shorter term retention, right? Using cloud native technology. We are a part of 3210 rule, wherein you need to keep 3 copies of data, 2 on different media, 1 on different site, and 0 means zero recoverability, zero RPOs, zero RTOs, right? In that sense, you can restore at any point of time, no cost for data out. Veeam does not charge you anything for data in or data out. uh, and longer term retentions are always possible in your object based storages, for example AWS S3, for example Azure storages, Azure blob storages. So these all are possible inside the cloud. If you are sitting inside the cloud, Veeam agents, for to take a backup of your cloud instances using agents, we install the agents which are called an instances, with the help of which we recover your data, we protect your data. uh, uh, for the agents, for the instances, again it's a centralized way of taking a backup using your Veeam backup and replication console. So this, for example, if you are having VMs running on a cloud environment, we can install agent in each VM and take a backup on Veeam centralized backup repository and can keep a backup copy on Veeam capacity tier. Veeam capacity tier is a place wherein we are storing your data. That capacity tier either can be Azure Blob or AWS S3. So in Veeam, we call it as a scale out backup repository. Scale out backup repository is a logical repository which is a combination of your on-premise backup repository plus your cloud repository. Right, that cloud repository can be your S3, can be S3 compatible storage, can be Azure Blob, can be IBM Cloud, anything can be possible. Right, so this is called scale out backup repository with cloud repository. So in scale out backup repository, we have two tiers. One is called performance tier, wherein first you are writing a data. That performance tier can be anything. That can be a shared storage, that can be a DAS, that can be a SAN, that can be a NAS, anything, right? So wherein first we are writing your data. So once your data is being written over there, after that, what we do depends on your policy. If you have chosen a copy, which is called capacity tier, that capacity tier can be anything. It can be S3, it can be Azure Blob, IBM Cloud Object Storage, S3 compatible service. So once the data has been written on your primary repository, after that, depends on your policy, you get two options: either do a copy of your data or do a movement of your data. If you are doing a copy of your data, your one copy of your backup data will go on there. So it gives you a functionality of unlimited capacity. Veeam does not charge you anything for it. You just bought one cloud storages from the respective vendor. That's it. No vendor lock-ins. For us, we don't lock you in with any of the vendor functionalities. If you have data sitting on Azure Blob, you can restore it on premise or you can restore it on another platform also, because it's a portable format, right? With AWS S3 bucket, we gives you immutable backup. In S3 bucket, we have AWS gives you a functionality wherein if the data has been written, the data has been logged forever. Nobody else can read that data, right? So that immutability of the backup becomes a very important factor for ransomware protection. So if you want to safeguard your data onto a cloud, and if you are using AWS S3, with S3 you can utilize this object lock feature, which gives you 100% guarantee that once the data has been written over there, nobody else in the world can decrypt that data, right? And also it will help you in 3-to-1 rule, which needs to be justified, which is a backup rule, right? Three copies of data, two on premise, one on different site. So capacity maintenance, it's very easy for you to add a performance or a capacity tier onto your existing scale out backup repository. It can be added at any point of time. It can be extended at any point of time. Depends on your requirement. If you want to extend it, you can do it. This is how your capacity tier looks like. So if you have a primary storage, whether that is DAS, NAS, or any dedupe appliance, that's called performance tier. Then based on your policy, you can put the data onto a capacity tier. That capacity tier can be S3, Amazon S3, Azure Blob, or IBM Object Storage. This is called scale out backup repository, right? It's immediate copy or backup or movement, policy based backup, very transparent, space efficient, self sufficient, no extra cost from Veeam side. Yeah, so I guess I have almost finished it on time. Let me see if you have any questions so that I guess no, there are no questions. So, guys, thank you so much for the session. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope this session would be useful for you. And now, if you need any other details, you can message me, you can email me at any point of time. We can discuss it technically, because in cloud, you can think of multiple scenarios. Veeam can fit in each and every scenario. You let me know if you need anything else. Thank you so much, guys, for your time.